the idea of freedom of speech, the specific idea of it is, you can't demand freedom of speech and then say, but don't say bad things about me.
So let's talk about George Clooney for a moment, because as there is a Democrat civil war happening, there will be generals and soldiers on each side of it. And because the Democrats now don't seem to have a leader, like who is the leader of the party? Well, they had a guy with dementia and they pushed him out, and then they put a woman in, they installed a woman who nobody liked. Kamala is obviously not the head of the party. They're trying to now like morph Bernie Sanders and AOC into something that'll be the head of the party, but that would be the head of an extremely radical party. So then there are the Hollywood celebs like George Clooney, who has raised a ton of money over the years for Democrats. George Clooney, who did that event, remember that event when Biden was still running? So it's about 8 months ago, where they had Biden on stage with Obama and George Clooney, and then Biden got fully lost and Obama's kind of pushing him off stage. And then eventually George Clooney, even he himself, turned on Biden. So I have no love. The Ocean's 11 movies were pretty decent. At least the first one was pretty good. But I'm sort of indifferent to George Clooney overall. But I would say what he's done politically with his money has been pretty terrible, because he's been part of the problem. But they're bringing him back. CNN's bringing him back. Here he is sitting down with Jake Tapper, because they need someone that at least seems sane to try to grab the reins of the party again. Otherwise, they are going to hand it to the AOCs, to the Bernies, or even worse, the Ilhans and Rashidas. So here's George Clooney talking about why he eventually turned on Biden. And of course, it's because he's a good man. He's a very good man.
You yourself did something that a lot of people would call brave when you wrote your op-ed.
Well, I don't know if it was brave. It was a civic duty, because I found that people on my side of the street, I'm a Democrat. I was a Democrat in Kentucky, so I get it. When I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth, I thought that was time to...
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure. It's okay. Listen, the idea of freedom of speech, the specific idea of it is, you can't demand freedom of speech and then say, but don't say bad things about me.
Right.
That's the deal. You have to take a stand if you believe in it. Take a stand for it, and then deal with the consequences. That's the rules. And so when people criticize me, they criticize me because of my stance against the war 20 years ago, and people picketed my movies and they put me on a deck of cards, and I have to take that. That's fair. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with criticism for where I stand. I defend their right to criticize me as much as I defend my right to criticize them.
All right, so look, I don't think George Clooney is like an absolutely horrible person. I think he's mistaken politically. Also, I don't know what's going on with his hair dye. Like, did he ask for the Rudy Giuliani special? Love you, Rudy. But like he used to have cool salt and pepper hair. That's what everyone loved about George Clooney. Also, it looks like maybe some Ozempic situation. He doesn't look very good. But all of that aside, I like how Jake framed it. It's very brave that you went against Joe Biden when he obviously had dementia. And Jake probably was like, and by the way, I have a book about that thing that I was hiding the information too. So you have a celebrity who is hiding Biden's dementia or whatever it was, and a quote unquote journalist who's now writing a book who was also hiding it, talking about this stuff. But the reason that they're trotting him out again is they need somebody, and they don't know what to do. There is no leader on the Democrat side who has put aside what you might think about Bill Clinton, who has like the magic of a Bill Clinton or the magic that a Barack Obama once had. They just don't have anybody. Again, that has nothing to do with their political beliefs, but there was something about Bill Clinton, obviously. There was something about Barack Obama, obviously. And now so there's two problems with the party. The party doesn't know what it believes, right? Does it want to be a genuinely old school liberal party that it was for many, many decades that would welcome, say, a Bill Maher, and maybe even someone like me to some extent? Does it want to be that, or does it want to be the hysterical, woke, progressive, authoritarian thing? So they've got to pick a new leader. So Jake asked Clooney, who, again, he's just being put up there to try to put some patina of sanity around this clown show. Who does he like for 2028?
Who do you have your eyes on?
There's one person in particular I think is spectacular. There are a few. I like Andy Bashir.
Oh, you're Kentucky.
I'm a Kentucky guy.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a good guy, and they're smart. And he's won in a red state. He's a Democrat. I like Gretchen. I think is very good. But who I think is who I think is levitating above that is Wes Moore. I think he is a guy that he's handled this tragedy in Baltimore beautifully. He's two tours of duty in Afghanistan, active duty. He speaks sort of beautifully. He's smart. He ran a hedge fund. He ran the Robin Hood Foundation. He's a proper leader.
All right, there's a couple of things there. First off, he likes Gretchen Whitmer. So again, this is where it's like even the moderates are still confused about things, right? So Gretchen Whitmer, who, as we've talked about a million times, like literally stopped people in Michigan from planting their own seeds in their own gardens during COVID. I mailed seeds from California to fans in Michigan because of that crazy woman while she was partying on her boat for her husband's birthday. Like you like her?